Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who's listening and viewing our program. I am Robert Campbell, Jr., Ph.D. with the American College of Epidemiology for the channel Public Health in Real Life. The last 2 years were a great and unprecedented challenge to epidemiologists and others in public health. According to the United States Council of State and Territorial Epidemiologists from 2017 to 2021, the number of epidemiologists in the state health department increased 23%. But even that is not enough. The needs for epidemiologists in every field of public health is high. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the employment of epidemiologists is projected to grow 30% from 2020 to 2030, much faster than the average for all occupations. The channel Public Health in Real Life aims to educate people about public health, celebrate unsung heroes, and inspire the next generation of professionals and leaders. This program is a collaborative initiative of American College of Epidemiology, or ACE. We asked distinguished members of ACE to share with you their life stories with a goal to promote a strong, sustainable, and diverse workforce.
Hello, this is Lena Garina with the American College of Epidemiology for the channel Public Health in Real Life. Today, I'm happy to welcome to the program Dr. Erik J. Rodriquez, a behavioral epidemiologist at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute, which is a part of the National Institutes of Health. He specialized in tobacco use behavior, social determinants of health behavior, and health disparity among racial ethnic minority immigrant population. His past research includes such important topics as how health behavior is affected by acculturation, stress, mental health, and age. Dr. Rodriguez received his M.P.H. degree from Loma Linda University and Ph.D. from the University of California, Davis. His postdoctoral training was at the University of California, San Francisco. He is also a very active member of the Minority Affairs Committee of American College of Epidemiology. Dr. Erik, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Our first question is, why did you choose epidemiology as your career?
Good question. I think initially in undergraduate education, I thought I was going to be going into medicine. I thought I was going to be a pre-med major like most everyone else around me. That's what I knew. It was tangible and understandable. I got a very welcomed opportunity to attend the summer program at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, called a pre-medical enrichment program. It was to educate undergraduate students on the kind of expectations and requirements for medical school. I went through the summer program, got towards the end of it, learned about public health, epidemiology, and kind of figured out, I think this is a better place for me than medicine. So when I got back to my undergraduate program, I took some different classes. I took more of the health science line of courses instead of the typical biology or chemistry courses. I did have my requirements, of course, that I did have to take, and completed a degree that was more along the lines of public health.
Well, as an epidemiologist, I could say a very wise choice. Thank you for making this choice. And can you please tell us about your project now, your current project?
So there's actually a number of projects that we currently work on. So to take a quick step back, I am a staff scientist in the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute. But for kind of more explanation, my general function is a lab manager for a PI. And so my PI, like any other PI in academia, functions as an independent investigator. However, there are just as many, actually more staff scientists across all of NIH as there are principal investigators. So in my role as staff scientist, I have my own line of research that I work on, but outside of that, all of the research I'm involved with all the research in the lab. We do not collect any of our own primary data, which is kind of unique for a lab at NIH. However, because of the nature of our work and particularly our PI, we have a lot of connections to research conducted on the outside. And so we make use of a lot of secondary data. And there are two studies in particular that we use the most, or data sets that we use the most: the Hispanic Community Health Study / Study of Latinos. It's a very long name. We call it the SOUL study, or the Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health, or PATH, P-A-T-H study. And with these two data sets, they're both publicly available data sets, but they also have a restricted component to it where there's additional data after going through a number of requirements to access restricted data. We make use of this restricted data and have a number of projects using both of these data sets.
Thank you. That's so interesting, especially about secondary data, because not everyone could collect their own data to
Right.
process and
Right.
to do research. Was it your first job, or what was your first job, and how does it prepare you for what you do now?
Yeah, I think I would probably call my first job out of school, so to speak, the year internship that I conducted in the California Public Health Department, California Department of Public Health. So it was a state of California health department program for particularly for master's level individuals, but there was also a component for physicians interested in a residency in preventive medicine. So I was placed at a small-ish county health department where I conducted a number of disease investigations, usually foodborne outbreak investigations. There were a couple of things that occurred. There was, I believe, actually, I kind of forget. Definitely E. coli. There's always a kind of like an E. coli outbreak. I think there was a coccidioidomycosis outbreak. That's called valley fever that I worked on. And these were kind of the beginnings of actually being exposed to or having to apply my epi methods that I learned in my program. What I think I also learned from that is that was one field or one area of the larger methodology of epidemiology. And so I could be more of an applied researcher, or I can go back to school for a doctorate degree and be more of an academic researcher. And so that was my next step after that first job.
So, as we say, in epidemiology, you started as a disease detective, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And with all demands of today, what do you think is the current immediate challenge in the epidemiology overall? What's in your view with everything that's happening now?
Yeah, I think there's an unfortunate positive, to the pandemic that everyone has heard of epidemiology now. Is probably familiar with some amount of epidemiologic terminology and methodology. I think probably the biggest challenge would be on the workforce side, particularly in workforce diversity, because it's still not reflective. I don't think it's reflective of the students that are currently in epidemiology programs, let alone the U.S. population. And then the other aspect is on the scientific side, being someone who works at NIH, the biggest, broadest areas of research are wet lab research and genetics research, genomics research. There are some epidemiologists across that kind of work, but I don't think there's quite enough of a balance of epidemiology across all funded health research in the U.S.
Thank you, Dr. Erik. And this this is this is a major goal of our program, right? To increase diversity in
Right.
the public health epidemiological workforce. So can I ask you what obstacles, if ever, you met in your career and how you were able to overcome or not overcome them? I hope it will help future inspiring epidemiologists.
Yeah, I think probably one of the biggest obstacles is believing in myself. Everyone experiences, of course, the imposter syndrome, but I didn't have a complete understanding of what was possible very early on, and I didn't talk to enough people early on. I was definitely scared. I was scared to leave home. I was scared to talk to people who may not be willing to speak with me. And it took a lot of years to learn how to be more, to understand that I needed to put myself out there more, as well as finding people that supported me and believed in me, and moving on as quickly as possible from those that didn't, and kind of understanding this is not a supportive environment, or this is not a healthy environment. I need to be moving on to something else.
Dr. Erik, we believe in you. We are proud that we participate in our program. And what do you think your mission in epidemiology? How you understand your mission in epidemiology?
I I think, particularly since the pandemic started, and since there's been more of a public awareness, at least as of late, and awakening to racial inequities, that part of my role is to bring up discussions and topics that I find aren't don't support the most equitable or equal treatment or consideration of all people. And so I do some of this partially through peer reviews when I master review manuscripts by journals. I do this in our small group settings with my boss and with our team, to kind of think through and understand, why are people, I don't know, listing these groups in certain ways in a paper or in this data set. If all of these groups are available, why was only one analyzed? Why were the other ones excluded? Why are people making certain conclusions about certain groups? Could there be other explanations that are not being considered? And so all of these things, I think, are worthy of discussion. And it's then, a matter of who do I discuss these things with, whether the right person to discuss them with is the one who's supervising me, or the ones that I'm mentoring, or others across my employer, or across my professional organizations that I'm a part of.
Dr. Erik, thank you so much for telling us about your story and your path to epidemiology. Is there anything else you would want to share with our viewers, maybe about training and mentoring at NIH, and what passes NIH could offer to inspiring epidemiologists?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. I think for any student or any recent graduate who is watching this lecture, or this, what I have to say, I think it would be worth your time to spend a few minutes looking, doing a Google search of NIH fellowships and particularly NIH training. I believe the website is training.nih.gov. There are summer internship opportunities. Those are particularly for students, either undergraduate or even master's or medical students. There are fellowship, 2-year post-baccalaureate fellowship opportunities, which is for recent bachelor's level graduates or recent master's level graduates, which is 2 years of full-time intensive training here on campus at NIH. The summer internship is also on campus at NIH. It's about 8 to 10 weeks. There are postdoctoral fellowships that last about 5 years. Again, full-time intensive training here at NIH. There are medical student researchship programs that last a year for those that want to take a year off from medical school. And then there's a number, NIH has a couple of programs where they partner with institutions where the students are conducting the research for their degree on campus with a investigator, and then go back and complete their degree. So there's a number of opportunities. NIH is a very rich campus, despite what I mentioned. If you do look up the intramural research program of NIH, there are people conducting research in all kinds of areas. And I would encourage anyone who's remotely interested to find a program that you find interesting, apply, and cold email investigators and ask them if they have opportunities or willing to speak with you for a few minutes about anything that may be possible for you to participate in.
Thank you, and thank you for that advice. And I would love somebody would tell me, would give me that advice years ago. Dr. Rodriquez, thank you very much for your time and for your outstanding job, outstanding work, and we wish you all the best in your work. And hope to see you again in the program. This concludes our today program. Thank you so much for being with us for this hour, and we hope you will all consider a career in epidemiology.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. We wish you all the best and looking forward to bring you another episode of the Path to Profession program from American College of Epidemiology and from this great channel. Thank you.
Okay.